Hi, and welcome to the second part of the calendar management training series. I'm super excited that you're watching this video today because in today's video, I want to get into the nitty-gritty on really how to set up your calendar for success. The reason why calendar management is so important is because many of us are struggling with time management and calendar management. And with that, we are not finding enough time to really recharge our own batteries, and that leads to a lot of burnout. So I really believe that the secret to preventing, avoiding, overcoming burnout is to really be better about your own time and calendar management. In the first video of this series, we talked about a couple of different basics. I really helped you to identify where you're currently spending your time, what are the most important things for you, and then also a couple of different key principles. If you haven't watched that video yet, make sure that you're watching it first because we are really diving into the second step and the second part of this in today's training, and you need that in order to understand what we're talking about, okay? So if you haven't done yet, make sure to check it out here, and I'll see you back here in a second. Okay, so now that you watched this video, you remember that there were 5 key questions that I asked you to answer. Those are super important, and those are really the basis of today's training video. So take out your notes and let's jump into how to really set yourself up for success. Okay, I really want to jump into the details of how to set up your calendar today, which is why I'm sitting here right in front of my calendar, and you can already see there's a couple of different colors and blocks and so on. And based on the insights, based on the answers to the questions that I asked you last week, I really want you to now be really good about setting up these different categories. And the first thing that I want to mention here is that it is important that you're doing this for the next week. So don't start to try and cramp in some different categories into this week, except if you can really do it, but just start with next week. So I want you to go into your calendar and to create really clear boundaries around when you're starting your workday, when you finish your workday, and when you have lunch, and for how long you have lunch as well, okay? So those are the first 3 things. So let's jump into that and try and set that up in our calendars. Okay, so as you can see here now in my calendar, there's 3 different kind of color codes. When I start my day, when I have my lunch break, and then also when I'm ending my day. I think these are really important for your own kind of peace of mind in order to start knowing, okay, when will I actually start my day, finish my day, when will I have my lunch break, and to set really clear, hard boundaries around that. In the next video, we're going to talk specifically about boundaries. So today I'm not going to jump into that because that's really a topic on its own. Today I really want to just talk about these different categories. So make sure that you're really clearly marking your calendar. And once you have these 3 categories, I want you to think about that next question. The next question is, okay, when am I feeling the most productive? And there's 3 different chronotypes. We call them chronotypes that basically we distinguish in science. There are people that love to work in the mornings. There are people that have kind of a medium work day, so they kind of like to get up in the morning, get going, and then their main peak performance hours are around midday. And then we obviously have the night owls that love to work in the evenings and at night because that's when they feel the most productive. So that is really important information because based on that, you should manage your calendar accordingly. So for example, if you feel super awake in the morning like me, then you want to make sure that all of the important projects that you have going on are scheduled in those morning hours. What that also means for me specifically, for example, is that I don't really want to have meetings during those times every single day in the morning. Obviously, I will have some days where I have some meetings, but I have also days that are completely blocked for my own project time. So what I highly encourage you to do here is, first of all, obviously identify your chronotype. Are you AM shifted, we call it, so morning person, PM shifted would be night person, or biphasic, which is kind of in the middle of the day. Okay, so identify who you are and then determine how many hours per week do you need in order to work on projects without being interrupted. So your uninterrupted project time, okay? For me, for example, it's about 6 hours per week that I like to work on my projects. And because I am an AM shifted person, I like to do that in the morning hours, okay? So this would be the next block that I set on my calendar. Based on that information, I'm now putting 2 blocks on my calendar for uninterrupted project time. So I would say, let's just do that right now. Okay, so you can see here in green, those are my 2 uninterrupted project time blocks where I'm very, very clear with myself and also with other people that I don't want to be interrupted. So for example, people cannot meet with me during that time. And if people do try to schedule time over that, I'm going to be really, really clear on, is that a priority for me? And if it is, obviously I will say yes to the meeting. If it is not, I usually keep those 2 blocks open for myself in order to make sure that I have absolutely, completely uninterrupted project time. And you can see now on my calendar that there's still a lot of empty spaces where other people can schedule time with you, where you can schedule time with others, where you have time for team meetings, for one-to-ones, for leadership meetings, all of these different things, right? But first of all, again, you need to be clear on what you want. And by the way, this is just kind of a template. For you, it could mean that every week or every other week, you might shift things around and have blocks at other times in order to make yourself available for other meetings as well, because I know that this is super, super important. But it is really as simple as that, right? We have basically a couple of different blocks on our calendars that are non-negotiables, and then there is still plenty of room and time in order to meet with other people. One other block that I personally really, really like to have on my calendar as well is to have a block before the end of my workday where I check emails and where I check my calendar. If you remember in the first video, I talked to you about these operating principles, operating key principles, and one of them was to make sure that you have a daily and weekly check-in on your calendar, because your calendar is changing all the time. So you want to make sure that you have that accounted for as well. So I'm going to now put that on my calendar as well, because I want to make sure that I actually have the time to do that. Okay, super simple. You can see here again, check emails. Because here's the thing with emails. We are in our inbox all the freaking time, and we're spending so much time in our inbox, and we're wasting and we're losing so much time. And it is really, really important that you're starting to remove yourself from your inbox on a regular basis, and you have just specific times in the day where you can basically collect all of the emails that came in throughout the day, and then you answer all of those emails. This is probably the biggest habit that you need to make changes to, because I know it is super, super easy to go into your inbox, answer an email, and feel a little bit more successful, or feel a little bit more satisfied about the things that you got done throughout the day, because it gives us, every time we are answering an email, a little dopamine rush. And that makes us feel good and makes us feel satisfied. But in the long run, we know that it is not really productive, and we are maybe not even as focused when we are answering an email here and there. So it is important that you have that block on your calendar as well. And again, look at my calendar. There are still many hours in the week where people can schedule time with me. So I want you to kind of get into that template, get into that structure of a calendar, so people can start finding time with you. And obviously you can find time with other people. But it is important to have these really basic rules. And I also really personally love color coding. Let's talk about color coding for a second. There are so many different ways of how you can obviously set up your calendar, but I think it is really beautiful to see it like this, because it just helps me and my brain to process, okay, this is where I'm starting my day, where I'm ending my day, where I'm doing that category, where I'm doing this category. Okay, it's just kind of a signal, and you will get used to it. So choose colors that are pleasing for your eyes and that you like to see, because it's just helpful to see your calendar not all in blue, for example, right? Oh my God, I would go crazy if my calendar is all the same color. So make sure that you are distinguishing, for example, the different categories that we talked about again in the first video, that you are distinguishing them by color, because then it will give you also a really good insight into how much time do I actually spend on this specific category, for example, for your team. Okay, so we are at the end of today's video, at the end of this section, because I think it is really helpful to just take some space to really think about what is your chronotype, what categories, what blocks would I like to have on my calendar, and how can I start fitting all these other categories of meetings into my blocks. This is the most important thing. You want to make sure that people start to arrange themselves based on your calendar and not the other way around, because it is so important that you are making space for the things that are important for you, okay? So I hope that you found this video helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and leave me a comment down below and let me know what are the biggest challenges that you are still facing when it comes to calendar management. I would like to do an FAQ about all of the things calendar management, so let me know in the comments down below what you would like to know or what you're struggling with and what I can help with. So I would say thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope to see you in the next one.